coming up a lot is the intergenerational transfer of wealth. And the numbers are quite staggering that they're talking about transferring over the next few years. How do you see that impacting the investment landscape locally?
It's going to have a really big impact. And I think we hear a lot about advice in the market, the lack of advice, the difficulty engaging with those younger generations around advice. But it's clear that those generations are going to get, they're going to inherit a significant amount of capital, and they are going to need guidance on what to do with it. And that is where we see a big change around how people engage with and ultimately digest and interact with advisors and with advice. And advisors being real people, through to advisors being a AI, and we had a chat about that.
We're going to go there
earlier, but whether it's digital advice, whether it's AI driven, or whether it's an actual person giving you advice, I think that's where we're going to start to see a big increase of that penetration coming into those younger cohorts.
So for advisors and wealth managers wanting to target and better service their clients, what tools do you think we're going to see come through in the next few years? We spoke about ChatGPT earlier. That's getting the headlines at the moment, which is an interesting angle, because that obviously is going to play a big part somehow in advice going forward. There's a lot of people, I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are turning to YouTube for advice because they're finding it too expensive. Actually, one of the statistics was that 32% of investors at the moment of current investors find advice too expensive.
It's probably good to separate the two types of advice. You get investment advice, like what to actually invest in, but then you get a higher level of advice as what do you do with your money. And it really comes back to asset allocation, and it's how do you, if you were lucky enough to inherit a significant amount of money, what do you do with that? You're not just going to go and trade shares, you're not just going to go and stick it in a bank account, you need that diversification across different asset classes. So there's that level of advice down to the individual investments, and I do think that to an extent those two things are separate, or can be separate.
They almost happen at different stages, don't they?
Absolutely. And there's professional investment advisors or fund managers that run a fund, but there may be an overarching advisor that says you should consider these types of assets, and here are a list of fund managers that invest in that asset class. So advice is, I think, going to continue to be sort of disintermediated with how it's delivered and what channels you actually get advice for certain parts of your wealth or sort of the stage of life you're in. And that's where digitization is absolutely going to come from. There's no doubt speaking to a human gives you a sense of comfort, but there's also no doubt that there's been a lot of conflict around how advice is delivered and how advice is charged for. So it's certainly a challenging environment, but it's something that needs to be uplifted for this generation to be more successful.